Or for example, I open an order for with 4 or 5% or 10%, and as soon as I start losing, I get afraid. So what is the ideal balance in your opinion? It should be 5,000 or 10,000 or more. That is the ideal balance. So exactly, when I'm working on the demo version and I'm complying with all of the strategies that you told us, I'm working with $3,000 or 500 for $5,000, and it works out. But when I trade with, for example, $60, it doesn't work out. Okay, so what volume do you use? How do I put it? 10% of my whole deposit, but I don't have much deposit. For example, I have $100 in my account, and with that amount, I can't really use any volumes. Okay, so it's totally normal for your first or second accounts to lose because you have to understand the market. That's why you have to start with $100. But if you really want to make money, the amount that you should be working with is $5,000 or more. Because when you working with that, you say to yourself that I'm going to gain 500,000 2 months or 1 million 2 months. With $5,000, you put 0.5 lot size and you gain $100 of profits, and you won't be greedy anymore. But if you're working with lower amounts of money, complying with the rules is going to be more difficult for you because you have to trade so many times to gain profits off of a $100 account. But if you don't have much deposit, because dollar is very worthy in Iran, very expensive, it totally depends on your budget. So if your budget is low, don't expect to gain so many profits. So you should accept only 500,000 2 months or $300,000 2 months when you're trading with lower budgets. But if you're working with higher budgets, you can get more profit. So if you comply with these rules in your balance, you will be successful. But if you enter the market with $100 and you want to gain $100 from that, you're wrong, and you're not complying with the rules, and you're not gonna get what you want. Alright, so are there any questions about candlesticks? No, thankfully we were really good in that subject. Okay, so this session we're going to talk about the reversal candlestick. And I told you that it has a difference with the swing high candlestick. And it has two long shadows. It has shadows from the both sides. You see that? So it has two shadows. And if it's formed at the top of the market, the upper shadow is longer than the lower shadow, and it's a must. And the lower shadow is usually long, but it should be shorter than the upper one. So if it's at the top of the market, it will cause a decline. But if it's at the bottom of the market, it's going to cause an upward movement. For example, in here, the shadows are the same height, but it has performed. We can't say that it hasn't performed here. But usually when you have a shadow with a longer upper shadow, the decline is going to happen faster. For example, in here, we have the shadows of this candlesticks are the same height. So the upward movement has started with a little bit of delay. So it's the same here. The shadows are the same height here as well. And you can see that the body is almost the same height as the shadows here. Let me zoom in so you can see. In here, you see the two shadows are almost the same height, and the body is also the same height as them. And because of that, it's not very powerful. So it hasn't caused an upward movement here. But if you pay attention to this one, the lower shadow here is longer than the upper shadow, and the body is shorter than the shadows. So if the body here was a little bit shorter and this shadow here was a little bit longer, instead of an upward movement, we would have an upward movement. You see that we have that in here. You see the upper shadow here is longer. And the factors that you have to check, it's exactly the same as the swing high. So it should be at a swing high. It's one factor, and it should be white. If the upper shadow is longer, that's another confirmation. If it's completed in the pivot, that's another confirmation for you. And the decline is going to happen much easier. But if you pay attention to this point, this candlestick is not empty, it's not ascending, and if the body was a little bit smaller, it would have caused the upward movement much easier. For example, in this one, this is another reversal candlestick. Please, everyone, mute your microphones. Okay, so if you look at this, you see, you can understand from the name of it. The reversal candlestick should cause a reversal. When you see this kind of a candle, don't expect a reversal in your trend. You see, these are all from the same family, but their signals are weaker. It has given you a descending signal, but only for a certain amount of time. And another thing is that in here, you have a reversal here. In here, or maybe at the one at the top. In here, we've had a good reversal here, and your trend has been changed. It has been changed to an uptrend instead of a downtrend. So unless this shadow is open, this reversal candlestick is reliable. So I told you that whenever you see the swing high candlestick, you know that you have a Fibonacci. And it's the same in the reversal candlestick. When you see a reversal candlestick, you should know that you have a Fibonacci in your chart. For example, in here, the upper shadow is long here, and it's also white. This lower shadow is shorter, and you see that it has caused a decline here. And this in here, the lower shadow is a little bit smaller than the upper one. You should pay a lot of attention to it. And the candlestick is white, is not empty. So it hasn't been able to perform very well. It's not very reliable. If it was bigger and it had all the factors, it would have performed better. Let me find an example for you. For example, this one. Please pay attention to this one. This is a very good reversal candlestick because it has caused an upward movement from the next candlestick. The body is smaller than the shadows. It has been completed in the pivot, so it has caused an upward movement, as you can see. Or for example, in here, this has good factors as well. The lower shadow is long, it's empty, it's not white, and we've had pivots in the past, and it has given us a rejection here. And it has caused an upward movement from the next candle on. Or you see that candlestick in here. The lower shadow is just a little bit longer than the upper one. You see that? But it has still performed. But it's because you have a signal based on the swing highs here. You can mix these two strategies together. And all of the other strategies that we taught you in the past. Or for example, in here, we have good factors here. The lower shadow is long and the body is not white. The shadows are longer than the bodies. It's completed in the pivot, so it has caused an upward movement easily. And it hasn't been able to break this shadow here. And this candlestick here has caused a reversal in here, but I will teach you about this the next session, which is a threat to the reversal candlestick. And it's a confirmation for an ascending trend. Or, for example, the swing high candlestick that I taught you last session. So let me find other examples. We have another reversal candlestick in here. So it doesn't have much difference in taking orders with the swing high candlestick, but there are some things that may deceive you. For example, if the upper shadow here is longer than the lower shadow, it would have deceived you a little bit. When this happens, when the upper shadow is longer than the lower shadow, and it doesn't have the factors, you have to wait until the price is opened, so it gives you a confirmation, just like the swing high candlestick, because the final confirmation is when it opens the shadow in that candlestick. So let us move to the 1 minute time frame. In here we have very good factors. The lower shadow is long, and the shadow is longer than the two sides of it, but it's not empty. If it was, it would have been a lot more reliable. The next shadow is, the upper shadow is almost the same height. So for example, this swing low that is formed after the previous swing low gives you a confirmation that you're going to have an uptrend. And you have a pivot here, so that's the reason why the price is going to stop there. So you're going to have an uptrend from then on. Or for example, in here we have a reversal candlestick, and it has all of the three factors. It is white, the lower shadow is longer, and it's been completed in a pivot, so it gives you a descending signal. And then 1 minute time frame. And here we have a reversal candlestick. The lower shadow is longer, the upper shadow is longer than the body, it's empty, and it's not white, and it has caused an upward movement. So you have all of these candlesticks in a day, either the swing high or the reversal candlestick. You have either one of these two in a 4-hour time frame. Or for example in here, we have a very good reversal candlestick. So the bigger this reversal candlestick, the more powerful it is, and it's going to cause a bigger movement. For example in here, the body here is too big. It's even bigger than the shadow there, the upper shadow, and the price is stuck here, and at the end of the day it has caused an upward movement. But if this body was a little bit shorter than the shadow here, it could be as good as this one, and you could have had an upward movement immediately. Or for example in here we have a candlestick, which is a very good candlestick, and the shadows are longer than the body, and the upper shadow is longer, so it has caused a decline. Excuse me, the screen is freezed. We can't see what you're doing. Okay, now I am changing the charts. Can you see it? No, it's freezed. I think it's because of your internet connection. Yes, that might be it, because my internet connection is weak. No, I wasn't talking about you, Mr. Abdullah. I was talking about our friend here. Please wait. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yes, we do. I changed my internet connection. Please tell me if whenever you can't hear me. Okay, so I'm looking for reversal candlesticks in the 1 minute time frame. You see, for example, in here, it is a very good reversal candlestick. It has all of the factors. But the body should have been shorter than this lower shadow here. If that was the case, we could have relied on it better. But it has been completed in a pivot. One very important point about the candlesticks is that all of the candlesticks that I'm teaching you, for example, swing high and reversal, the shadow has to be completed inside a pivot. If that doesn't happen, there's a very big possibility that it's going to be faded out. For example, in here, this candlestick here has a very long shadow, and the candlestick hasn't been completed yet. You see that? And next to it we have a swing low, but because it hasn't been completed in a pivot, the other candlestick has faded it out. But if the pivot here was completed a little bit lower in a pivot, it would have performed. But it was giving you this a warning that because it wasn't completed inside the pivot, we were going to have a decline. Excuse me, I have a question. Please keep your question to yourself until I'm done with this. You see, you have to memorize these shapes and patterns of the market. Without using any tools, I have seen the patterns of the market many times. For example, the one that is here, I have seen this before. You have to memorize all of them. That is the only way that you can do that, and you have to practice it. Only practice can help you to memorize these.
میگم آقا همچین شکلی اصلا نداریم و شکل نمیگیره رو بهتون میگم.
You see, I can't really teach you about these. You have to look at the past of the market and memorize them. Because in the market, we have reputations all over. But in the market, we don't have a candlestick that is like this and the next candle is like that. You see, you can never find an example for that. This zone here, I am highlighting the zone for you. Can you see it? Just this zone. Please make a pattern of it in your mind. I've memorized all of these patterns because I've been working on the market for a very long time, and you can do that too. Now you can ask your question.
من الان
Excuse
همین
me,
کندلی رو که الان شما فرمودید این
the
الان
candlestick that
بغلش
you
به
just
سمت
pointed out,
چپش گودی دره ما
at
داریم
the,
این
on the
شما این
left, we have a swing
گودی
low.
دره رو حساب نمی کنید
So aren't you going to
همین
count the swing low pivot?
همین بغلش سمت
Where?
چپ
Please show me.
بله بله
You in here?
جای
No, this isn't a
جای
swing low pivot.
سرخ یا
Well, or a little bit lower. You're talking about this point, right? This isn't a swing low pivot. If you want to count, you see, the swing low pivots are not inside the trend. They are only at the top or bottom of your V shape or reverse V shapes. But these aren't your pivots. Or for example, in here, that we have a decline here, these are not my swing low pivots. I should find them based on my shadow factors. When we have a trend and then we have a decline and the price reaches the middle of the trend, don't look for swing low pivots. Look for shadow pivots. You don't have a swing low pivot there. You know, these two are your swing lows. The swing lows are only at the very top or very bottom of the chart on 78 or 89 level. You see that? So they are not inside the trend. They are not in the middle of the chart. I got that. Thank you. Let me see. For example, this is a swing high candlestick and it has caused an upward movement. Let me see what else. For example, this is another reversal candlestick. It's in the same family of the swing high and the candles, a reversal. The upper shadow is very long, so it's in the same family as the two that I just taught you. So you can take orders based on that. But I'm looking for a reversal candlestick here on the 1 minute time frame. For example, in here, this is a reversal candlestick. Let me highlight it for you. In here, the shadow here has been able to go further than the pivot. But you shouldn't trade here because the shadow here has been able to go further than the pivots that we have in here. It's a little bit suspicious, so I should wait. If the price goes further than this point and I get the confirmation, I should start selling. But sometimes the shadow is
شما میتونید
completed
راحت سیگنالش رو بگیرید.
exactly inside the
اینه
pivot.
که
So
وقتی
that
که
gives you
اینجا به این شکل
the
تموم میشه،
confirmation that you want.
باید
But
توی
when
ذهن
it's
خودتون
completed like
احتمال بدید که
this,
بخواد
you
اینو
have to
سیوش بکنه.
predict that
باید صبر
there's a
بکنید
possibility
ببینید آیا شادو
that
پنل
anything could
پایین رو
happen.
باز میکنه. باز
So you should
کرد
wait
میتونید
for it
اوردر رو
to
فروش
open the
کنید
lower
تا تو
shadow
روز
there.
بعدیش.
And if that
پیوتش رو باید
happens,
بسنجین. مثلا فاصله
you
پیوت
can
من اینجا که اوردر فروش
start
دادم، پیوت
trading.
بعدی من مثلا اینجایه.
You
خب
should
من
look for the
نمیدونم اصلا
next
این
pivots that you
ارزش
have
اینو داره من بخوام اینو بگیرم.
and see if
و
it's
توجه
worth
داشته
it
باشین
to start
تغییر
trading.
روندها و
If you pay
قله
attention,
ها
the reversal
زمانی
and
خیلی
candlestick
به
and
کامل
swing
اشاره
high
میکنن و یک
candlesticks
روند سیگنالی خوب به ما میدن، یعنی یک روند
are
تعداد پیوت خوبی به ما
reliable
میدن
and give us
که
a
توی
very good
کف
signal
یا
when they
سقف
are
ایجاد
at
شده
the
باشه.
top or bottom of
ببینید
the chart.
الان این تغییر
For example,
روند
this
توی یه
reversal
موج ریزشی
candlestick
ایجاد
here
شده.
was formed
خب
in
ولی
a
اگه این
in a
تغییر روند
downtrend.
قیمت من اومده بود بالا ساخته بود
But
اینجا
if
شکل
it was
گرفته
at the
بود،
top
کندل
of
بعدیش
the
اینجا شکل گرفت، یه زمان اومده بود پایین، این
chart
یک
here,
روند ریزشی زیادی به من میده.
then I knew that I was
ولی
going
وقتی
to
اینجا
have
من این
a
قله رو
descending trend.
دارم،
But
وقتی
when I
اینجا
have
اینجا
this
این
here,
قله رو
when I
دارم،
have
من
this
اتفاقا به
swing
این
high
قله
here,
میرسم که چون توی
that
کف
is enough
ایجاد
for me
شده
because
و من
it's at the
انتظار دارم
bottom of the
الان بیش
chart
از اینا
and I
بره به
expect
سمت بالا.
the
الان
trend to
اینجا
go
این
up.
قیمت اینو باز کرد ولی
You see,
پیوت
the
من
price here
اینجا
has
هست.
been open, but I have a pivot
میبینید
here
استوب کرد قیمت،
because
دقیقا
the
توی
price has
کفش
stopped
برگشت
here
زد که الان پیوتش رو شکست.
and it has
باید
reversed a little
بسنجیدش
bit and it
ببینید که
has broken the
فاصله
pivot now.
پیوتیش
So you
مناسب
should
هست،
see if
قابل
the
مثلا پلس
distance
هست، نه اینکه من بیام
of
اینجا
the
اوردر
pivots is
فروش بزنم
worth it
و
or not.
هیچ
So if
اسپرد
I
داشته
take
باشم تا اینو اینجا
sell
به اون پیوتی که من
orders
میرسه
here
بخواد اسپرد منو صاف بکنه.
and I have spreads here,
اینش هم باز کرد، این قله رو هم باز کرد. تا خبر داریم.
if it's going to
آره خبر
be
داریم که
worth it or
تقریبا
not.
در این پایین.
Maybe we have a news here and that is why we have this
پیوتش
shape,
اینجاست.
but I don't think so.
ببینید دقیقاً
Okay, so the pivot is right
این
here.
پیوت اینجا داره.
Exactly
این
one
روند
pivot
روند رو به
here.
افزایشه. نباید
So
ترسی
this is
داشته
an
باشید. به
uptrend
چه
here. You shouldn't
دلیل؟
be afraid.
پایه‌هاتون
And I have
بالاتر
reasons
از
for
هم
that
دیگه
because
تموم شده.
the swing lows here
قله‌های
have been
مستحکمی داره.
completed
این
higher than
قله‌های
each
خیلی
other
قوی
and you
رو
have
داره.
very powerful swing
ریزش
highs
خیلی
here.
قوی
You
داره.
see that?
پیوتش
They are very
اینجاییه.
powerful.
پیوت بعدیش هم
Your
اینجاست.
next pivot is right there.
خط ترندش هم بخوایم بزنیم
And
این
if you want to
حالت
draw
میشه.
the trend line, it would be like this.
پس شما زمانی که الان مثلا اینجا اوردر فروشی که
So
من
if you
بایی که
take a
من باز
sell order
کردم،
here or a
الان
buy
ریزشی به سمت من
order
نباید
here,
بترسم، استرس
and
بخورم نباید
if I
بزنم.
have
من
a
نگاه
little
میکنم
bit
این
of a
موجام
downtrend, I
ببینم
shouldn't be
چیه.
afraid.
روند من رو به بالای بذار بیاد پایین.
The elasticity is
در نهایت
upward.
برمیگرده به
So if
بالا
it
که
comes
بالاتر
down a
بازم
little
بسته
bit,
بشه.
it doesn't matter. I shouldn't be afraid. Because at the end, it's going to go up.
ببینید الان دو قله اینجا داریم. این تغییر
For
روندی
example,
که
we have
اینجا
a
شکل
swing high
گرفته،
here, and we have a
دقیقا این
reversal that
تغییر
has
روندی اینجا
been
شکل
formed here.
گرفته یک فاکتور رو نداره.
But it doesn't have
شادوی
one
من اینو
factor.
پاک کنم.
Let me delete these first.
شادوی اینجا دو تا شادو هم
The
اندازه هم هستن.
the two
این
shadows are
فاکتور
the
نداره.
same height. So
کندل
that is
توپ
what
پر نشده.
the
این
factor that
فاکتور رو
is not
نداره.
checked. And the
پس
candlestick
فقط یک فاکتور رو داره که
is
پیوت
not
قبلا که
white.
برگشت قیمتی داشته که پیوت بوده فقط تو پیوت تموم شده.
And but
ولی
it's
قیمت
been
نتونست از این کف بره
completed
سمت پایین
in a
بیاد.
pivot. And the price hasn't
چرا
been
که
able
این
to
ولی
go
یک کار
past
دیگه
it.
تو ذهنتون اینو هک کنین جزء
So
نکات
that is
خوب هست.
another important
کندل قبلیش
point.
خودش قله خیلی خوشگل و خوبی هست.
The
فقط
previous
توجه به این داشته
candlestick
باشین. من
was a
فعلا
very
اتفاقم روی
good
اینه.
swing high
من
here.
فعلا روندم میگم رو به بالای تا
So I
زمانی
can
که
rely
نخواد
on
اینو
that.
باز بکنه. پس
We have
اگر
an
که پشت سر
uptrend
هم
unless
یک
this
تغییر
here
یک قله
is
و یک
open.
تغییر روند شکل گرفت،
So if we
بگردین
have
نگاه کنید
a
ببین الان
swing
دقیقا
high
یک قله و
and a
یک تغییر روند
reversal
پشت سر هم ایجاد شده. یه قله
in
در
a
سمت
row,
پایین شادو داده، یک تغییر روند در
you
سمت
see we
بالا
have
داده.
a swing high here
من
that
میخوام
is
حد اکثر
that has a
ریزشی که
shadow
من
on the
قیمتی رو تو
bottom.
این محدوده ها میگیرمش. من
The
منتظر تغییر
maximum
روند اینجام.
decline that
چرا؟
I
چون
have is
گفتم
going to
فاکتورها
be
رو اصلا
at this
نداره.
area because it
پس
doesn't
من
have
اتفاقا
two
روی
of my
اینه میگم که این
factors.
قله
So I will
بهترین روند
depend
من
on
کاندل
this.
بفرسته به سمت بالا.
And I know that this is going to cause an upward movement in my trend.
بله کندل تغییر روند دارم میگم.
I'm talking about the reversal candlestick.
مورد دیگه
The other thing
اینجا.
is right here.
ببینید این کندل از خانواده قله هست.
You see, this is in the same
این شادوی
family
خیلی
as
خوبی
the
داده.
swing high
شادو
candlestick. It
از
has
همه
given me a very
بلندتره،
good and
شادوی
long
خیلی کوچیکتره.
shadow.
این قله
The
میشه.
lower
فقط
shadow here
تنه
is
پشتش
longer,
قله میشه چون تنه تونسته از شادوی اون طرف
but
بلندتره
the
بیاره بشه
body
قله.
is longer than
وقتی
the upper
شکل
shadow.
میگیره تونست شادو و تنه رو باز میکنه که جز فاکتور آخریش بود. روند راحت به سمت بالا میره.
So it's going to give
روند
me a
راحت به
very
سمت
good
بالا
upward
میره. شروع میکنه
movement.
شما پیوتاشو پیدا کردن. پیوت اولش
But if you want
اینجاست.
to know how long it's going to
ولی یه
go
موردم
up, you
توجه
should look
داشته
for your
باشین.
pivots. We have
ببین این
pivots
جزء
here.
نکاته.
But
ببینید
pay attention to
اینجا
one
ما میگیم
thing.
تایید ناییمون اینجا است که قیمت به
See, the
سمت بالا
final
میفرسته.
confirmation was
ولی
this,
پیوتش نزدیکه.
but the
خب
pivot
وقتی
is
این
very
حالت
close to
شکل
that.
میگیره
When
فاصله
that
تنه و
happens,
شادویی
when
که
the
باید باز بشه تایید
distance
نهایی بهش
between the
بده،
shadow that has
فاصله
been
پیوتش
opened
دیدین کمه، بدون این پیوت شکسته میشه.
and the
این جزء
pivots is very
نکته ها
low,
حتما
know
برش
that
دارید.
these pivots
اگه
are
نه
going to
این
be broken.
پیوت من تو این محدوده
But
ها
if
بود،
my
این
pivot was
محدوده بالاتر
here,
بود، یک
it was a
فاصله
little bit
نسبتا خوب
higher
داشت.
and the
یک
distance
فاصله
was
نسبتا خوب
more,
داشت. من میتونستم بگم این
I
اینجاها
could
برگشت
say
میخوره.
that the
ولی
price
این
was going to
نمیتونستم
retrace
اینجا
at that
بگم که
zone.
چون پیوت من
But
اینجا
because
هست، من
these
اینجا اوردر
pivots
بای
and the
بذارم اینجا
shadow
خروج
are
کنم.
very close
نه،
together,
شما این قله توتون
that's
قله
another thing.
کف ایجاد شده.
You
اگه
see,
قله توی
the swing car
روند
here
داشته
has
بود،
been completed
کفتون
at the
درست خوب
bottom of the
میشد.
chart.
دیگه این تو پیوت
If it
بعدی من
was
باید
at the
حتما
bottom,
خروج کنم.
in the
ولی
trend,
چون این
I should have
قله
exited right
توی
there.
کف
But
ایجاد
because the
شده،
swing high here
این
has been
پیوتش هم با این
completed at the
نزدیکه
bottom
و
of
یه
the chart
قله خیلی
and the
خوب هست،
distance between the
من
pivots and
باید
the
این نکته
shadow
رو کنترل
is
کنم که این پیوت من
very
شکسته
little,
میشه و
I
قیمتم
should
به
pay
سمت
attention
بالا
to
میره.
this point that I'm going to have
هرچه
a
تایم بالاتر ما
breakout of
چکش
the
کنیم،
pivots. If we move on to
قلش
the
باید پیداش کنم.
longer time frames, let me highlight it.
اینجا
Okay,
ببینید تو
and here,
تایم روزانم
in a daily time
یک
frame,
قله خیلی خوبی رو براتون
I
صادر
see a
کردم.
very good swing high here.
قله فوق العاده عالی بوده
It was
که
a
روند رو
great
خیلی
swing high
راحت به سمت
candlestick
بالا فرستاده.
that
برای
has
ورود
caused
داخلش
an
هم میبینید
upward
پیوت
movement
50 است و
easily.
همچنان با این هم داره میشه. ولی روند من رو به بالاییه.
So
این
my
روند
I have
رو
an
به بالا
uptrend
هست.
here. It's ascending.
در تایم هفتگی هم که بخوایم بزنیم، در تایم هفتگی هم تغییر
So if we
روند داده.
move on to the weekly time frame,
حالا
it
یک
still gives
قسمت از
me a
آموزشی
reversal
مشخصا
candlestick.
هست که فاکتور گیری کندل ها در تایم های مختلف هست. مثلا تایم
But
ماهانه، ماهانه هفتگی،
checking the
روزانه،
factors
همه
of the
تحلیل
candlesticks in
میکنه که
different time frames
روندتون
is
رو
one
به
of the things
بالاییه
that I'm going
که
to teach you.
بهترین اوردری که میتونید تو اون هفته یا روزتون مثلا باز بکنید.
And this is the best order that you can take in that week or day.
من جای دیگه هم بهتون نشون بدم.
Let me
ببینید
show
در
you
تایم
other
فریمی 30
examples.
دقیقه، دو
For example, in
ساعته، یک
30-minute
کندل
time
قله
frame,
ایجاد شده.
you
در تایم
have a
میدیم
swing high
تمام
candlestick.
روند.
Let me find a reversal one.
اینو تغییر روند نگیرید.
Don't count this
ببینید
one
روی
as a
این
reversal
مسیر
candlestick and don't
شاید
be
قیمتتون
deceived by
بیاد به
it.
سمت بالا بفرسته، ولی
Maybe it
خیلی
gives you an
جاها،
upward
یعنی
movement, but
90% جاهایی که ما دیدیم این
in
خطا رفته.
90% of the times,
شادوی
this is
بالایی بلندتر از شادوی پایینیه.
unreliable because the
کندل هم
upper
کوتاه
shadow is
میتواند
longer than the
کوتاه
lower
تموم
one
شده.
and it's
الان این کندل ببین
white
افزایشش رو
too.
صادر کرد.
So
خب
it gives me
میبینی
an
که میاد یه
ascending
دونه یه
signal
موردش
here.
فاکتور میده، چون این
So
کندل
it gives me
افزایش
one of the
تموم کرد قیمت رو به
factors.
سمت بالا بفرسته.
And because it's
ولی با این
completed
حال
as an ascending
خودش
candlestick, it's going
فاکتور
to cause an
کامل
upward movement.
نداشته،
But because it
من
doesn't have all of
کمتری
the
نباید تمام
factors,
تصمیم
I
بگیرم.
shouldn't make any
زمانی تصمیم
decisions here.
میگیرم اینجا رو باز بکنه برام.
I should
تو
make
تاییدی که
decisions when
بخواه همون
this is
ورودی
open here.
هفت رو بسازه.
So
ببینید
that is my
تغییر
confirmation that the
روندها و
other leg
قله
of the
ها همون
V shape is
ورودی
going to
هفت و
be
هشتی که
formed.
میسازن. بیاین
The
اینجا رو شما توجه
reverse
بگیرید. یک
candlesticks are
تغییر
the ones
روند
that
گسترش یک
build
قله کنار
the V
هم
shapes,
بعد
some
شما
reverse
قیمت
V
رو فرستاده به
shapes.
سمت بالا.
For
این
example,
یک
in here
ورودی
we
هفت
have that
ایجاد شده.
exactly.
یا
It's
این
inside the V shape.
تغییر روند یک تغییر روند
Or
خیلی
in here
خوبم
we have
هست.
a very
به
good
یک
reversal
ورودی
candlestick,
هشت
and
ایجاد
it's
شده.
at the top of the reverse V shape. Excuse
بفرمایید.
me. The candlestick that you talked about the confirmation that you talked
یکم
about.
بلندتر صحبت
Please
میکنید.
speak louder. I'm talking about the uh
این
that candle, that right. Right. You
تاییدیه
told me that
میده
it gives us
ولی
a
خب برای
confirmation.
یه دونه تاییدیه میده
Yes,
بهت.
it
خب
gives you one
ولی چون این
confirmation.
کندل
But
خودش
because this
فاکتور خودش
candlestick
رو
doesn't have
نداره،
the
من
wanted
نباید رو تصمیم گیری
factors,
میذارم
I
بخاطر
shouldn't make
تایید
any
خودش.
decisions. I should wait
این
for it
یک امید،
to
اینجوری بهتون
be
بگم، یک
completed and give me the
امیدواری.
confirmations. It's just a warning for me. But you told me that if it's inside the
نه ببینید
previous
شکم
candle, we shouldn't
کندل
count it.
بحثش فرق داره.
No, that
کندل
is
اصلا روی
another
کله
thing.
گفتم. خب
I was talking about the
این کندل
swing high
قبلی که
candlestick.
شکل گرفته
The
خودش تغییر
previous
رونده،
candlestick
ولی
in
این
here is
کندل
a reversal
برگشته توی
candlestick
شکم
itself. But if this
مثلا
one is
اینجور کندلی،
completed, for example,
یا تو
this
شکم
kind of
اینجور
candlestick is
کندلی تموم
completed,
شده بود فیل میشد.
in this
این
ones,
کندل میگم
it would have
بسته یه
faded
ذره حالا
out.
جلسات آینده تو اینا دارم
But
تو
I'm
اینا بهتون
going to
میگم
talk
که
about
این
all of these
کندل
in
تو
your future
شکم تغییر
sessions.
روند ایجاد شده.
You see, we've had a reversal
مهمه
here.
که توی چه کندلی
It
تموم
is
شده باشه.
important that
بحث
in
اینه که
what
تو
candle
جلسه
it has
قبل
been
من بهتون
completed.
گفتم که اگه
The
قله
thing that we
توی
talked
شکم
about
کندل
last session was
قبلی
that if the
مثل
swing high
مثل
candlestick
این
is
کندلی بود، من
completed
نمونهش براتون
inside the
بسازم، مثل
previous
اینجور
candlestick, for
کندلا
example, in
توی این
these
که
kind of
شکم کندلایی
candlesticks,
که تموم بشه خب فیل میشه.
it would be faded out.
نمونهاش هست، بذارید من براتون همون
And
نمونه
I've
بزنم.
have
مثلا اینجا
examples
ببینید،
here. For
حالا
example, in
اینا
here,
این کندل بیم قله،
this is a
این
swing
کندل
high
قله میگن
candlestick,
نیستش،
right?
این توی شکم این کندل
It's
تموم شده.
completed
ببینید این کندل
inside
اگه
the
که شادوش
previous candlestick.
برعکس بود،
If
برعکس بود،
the shadow
شادوی
here
پایین بود و توی
was
شکم این اجرا
reversed, for
شده بود،
example,
شادوی پایین بوده،
and
شادوی پایین بوده، این
this
اینجا
was your
افتاده بود،
lower
دارم
shadow
رو
here,
میفرستاد بالا، ولی این شادوه
it would have
بالا تموم
caused an
شده و
upward
توی
movement, but
این
the
شکم
shadow
تموم
here
شده.
is up there and it's
نمیدونم
inside the
متوجه
previous
شدید یا نه.
candlestick. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm
ببینید
talking about.
جان،
Excuse me. I mean that when we have a swing high and the next
دقیقاً
candlestick is the opposite, we shouldn't count that as one, right?
درست
Yes, that's
دقیقاً
exactly
درست.
correct. It gives you a confirmation.
ببینید الان این کندل
For example,
خودش
in
یه قله
here,
داد. خب من
this
میخوام پیوتشو
candlestick
در
gives me
بیارم
a swing high, and I should
اینجا.
look for the pivots.
از پیوت بعدی
You
در
see, I have a
بیارم در
swing
رفت.
low pivot here
ببین
that
از
it has
اینجا
gone
برگشت
further
بالا،
than it. So
ولی از اینجا در
it
رفت.
had to reverse at
من
this
نباید
point, but
زیاد
it
روی
has gone
ارزش
further
کم
than it.
کنم.
So I shouldn't rely
میگم
on this
شاید بده قیمت رو به
so
سمت
much.
پایین و مثلا اینجا رو باز بکنه، ولی اون
Maybe
فاکتورایی که من
we even
بخوام
going
با
to have a
خیال
decline,
راحت ترید بکنم و
but
ندارم.
I
این میشه
can't
حالت
rely on it
تقریبا مثلا میشه
100%.
10% 20% ریسک کرد.
And
ما
it's a
مثلا اگه
little bit
بخوایم
risky.
اینجا روی این اوردر فروش بزنیم، حد ضرر رو اینجا
So I
میذارم،
should, if I
یعنی
want to
اینجا
trade
میذارم نه
based on
بالای
that, I will
شادو.
put
چرا که
my
قیمت
stop
بدون تا
loss right
اینجا که
there
توی پیوتش بوده
because the
از این
pivot
پیوت
is right
دوباره
here.
بخواد رد
And
بکنه،
if
دیگه
it
بازش
wants
میخواد
to go
بالاتر بره.
further
چرا که
than this
بخوام این
pivot
ترتیب کنیم
again,
اضافه‌تر ضرر بده.
I'm going
ولی
to
اگه یک
lose.
شادو فیکس
But if the
مثلا
shadow
مثل
here
اینجا،
is
اینجا
exactly at this point,
اینجا
for
تموم
example,
شده
if
بود،
it
من
was
فروشم رو
completed in here,
میگرفتم،
I would have
حد ضررم
started
میذاشتم بالاترش
selling and I
نمیکردم.
would have put my
این
stop
خیلی
loss
تفاوت در اینه.
above this
ببینید این خیلی
shadow
بحثش
here.
فرق داره تا این پیوت
But
اینجا
it's
یا تا
very
پیوت اینجا
different.
تموم شده باشه. اگر این قله خوب و مستحکمی
If
باشه،
this is a
خیلی
very
راحت
good
قیمت رو به سمت پایین
and
بفرسته.
strong swing high
راحت
here,
بازی
it
کنه.
should cause a downward movement.
بفهم.
Excuse me, I have a question. Because we're working on the
چرا
1 minute
این
time
تو
frame,
جلسه
shouldn't
بعدی
we
من گفتم در
check
مبحث بعدی
for
شما هست، حالا
previous
جلسه بعدی
pivots?
نه
Yes, you
بعدی
should.
که
But
میریم
I'm going
توی
to talk
تایم
about
های
that your
بالاتر
next session.
شروع میکنیم چک
Because
کردن.
you should
مثلا
start
من
checking
خودم بخوام کندل
in
خوب رو
the
کار
longer
بکنم،
time frames. For example,
کششم رو
when I
از
want to
یک
check the
ساعته معمولا یک ساعته یا نیم ساعته
candlesticks,
چک میکنم به همین
I
ترتیب میام
check the
پایین
market
که شکل مارکت رو
elasticity
پیدا
in
کنم.
hourly time frames.
ببینید الان در تایم یک ساعته من
For
کشش
example, in
قیمتی
here,
سیگنال نزول داده.
in the
سی
hourly time
دقیقه
frame, I
سیگنال
have
نزول
a
داده.
descending signal here.
نه
Also in the
ساعته سیگنال
30 minutes
نزول
and
داده.
50 minutes
5
time
دقیقه
frames. Also in
سیگنالی
the
توش
5
نمیگیره،
minutes
یا حتی زیاد دووم بیاره تا اینجا.
time
از
frame,
اینجا دور
it
ریزش
is
میده.
giving
خب
me
من میام اوردر فروش باز میکنم رو کندل سیتی یک
descending
دقیقه، همچین ریسکی
signals.
نمیکنم.
So I will not take that
بحث
risk.
اسکلپ اصلا اینجوری نیست که من
In
الان بیام هی یک
scalp,
دقیقه فقط یک دقیقه بهتون میگم. اسکلپ اینه. من توی تایمر شروع کنم چک
I
کردن،
should check
این
the
اسکرول
all of the
بشه
time frames.
که من
We've
اینا
had
رو فایل بگیرم.
fluctuations here. Let me,
مثلا راحت روی یک ساعته.
for
خب
example, in the
یک
hourly
ساعته
time frame,
کشش رو به پایین میگیرم.
the
این کار
elasticity is
حضور بدم.
descending. I have a descending signal.
نیم ساعته راه
Also, in
سایت
the
دارم،
30
اینجا میگیرم.
minutes time frame, I have a
سایدش هم
sideways trend, so
یعنی
I should
اینجا فروش نمیکنم. این ربع
wait.
ساعته
I shouldn't
باز هم
sell
صورت
here.
ساید رو
Also, in
دارم.
15 minutes
این که
time
دیگه
frame, I
هیچ
have a
اصلا صاف
sideways
بازی
trend
نمیکرده
as
غیره.
well. The price
اینجا
is
هم
stuck
ندارم.
on the support lines
افزایش
there.
بخوام بدیم تا اینجا یه قلفی میکنه. میرم
But
چهار
then it's
ماهه
going
یه
to
چارت
get
دیگه
stuck here
دارم.
as well. I should look at the
خب
other
شما که
charts
میخواین اینو بگیرین رو ببین الان
to
اینجا
look for the
یک
factors that I
ساعته
want.
افزایش
For
سیگنال،
example, in the
نیم
hourly time
ساعته
frame,
افزایش
I have an
سیگنال،
ascending
ربع ساعته
signal
افزایش
also
سیگنال،
in 30 minutes
5
and
دقیقه
15
یکی
minutes.
فروش
And also,
کوچیک از اینجا
I
بچینم
have
اینجا
ascending
چیکار میکنم
signals.
میام
In the
اینجا یه کاری
5 minute
میکنم
time frame, I have a little bit of a decline.
که چرا درصد
So I
روند
should
من رو
put
به
my buy
بالا
stop
بیاره.
right there
حتی اگر
because
کمی
the
اومد پایین
elasticity
از
is
پایین
ascending
بایمو
anyway.
بگیرم و اگه این محدودمو باز کرد برام بای بگیرم. چرا
So
اینجا
I
الان
should
اوردر
buy
بای
when the price goes
نمیزنم؟
further
چرا
than
که
this
پیوت
area.
چشمم
The
دیدم.
reason why I'm
پیوت
not buying here is the pivots that I see. You
قیمت
see, I
من
have
دو
two
بین دو
pivots here.
پیوته.
The price is
من چرا
exactly
همچین ریسکی
between
بکنم؟ من
two
حاضرم اینجا
pivots.
4 پیپ از دست بدم
So I
که
wouldn't
اینجا
take
باز
that
کنم. خیال
risk.
راحت بایمو بگیرم. یا
If
من
it
کمی
goes
از پایین
further
بای
than that
بگیرم.
area, I
چرا؟
will buy
چون کشش
safely
مارکت من رو به بالای یک ساعته
because I
افزایش،
have an
نیم
ascending
ساعته
elasticity.
افزایش،
In
ربع ساعته
hourly 30
کمی به
minute
ادامه
and
دهنده
15
افزایش،
minutes
5
time frames,
دقیقه
I
حالت
have
چی؟ به این بیس
ascending
پیوتی
signals.
گیر کرد.
But in the 5 minute
یک
time
دقیقه شما
frames, it is
دیگه معمولا
stuck
یک دقیقه ما زیاد
in
اسکلپ
the
نمی کنیم.
pivot
میاد
base.
پایین مثلا از پایین بای
So I
بگیره بهتر.
shouldn't risk that.
استاد اون بحث که گفتید
Excuse me.
مثلا 1 دقیقه و 5 دقیقه یکیه، 1 ربع و نیم ساعت،
Uh, you said that the
خب
1 minute and
برای
five
اسکلپ
minute
میتونه
time
چرا؟
frames are the same, and
ببین
also the
معادل
15 minutes and
چرخشی
30
نمیشه.
minutes
همیشه
are the same.
روزانه
So
اشتراک
aren't that for
فرقه
scalping?
یک
Yes, it
ساعته و
is.
نیم ساعته، ربع ساعته و 5 دقیقه.
Those two are the
نه یک
same, and
ساعت
also
رو
4 hour and
مثلا
hourly
چک
time
میکنه
frames are
یه
the
ربع،
same.
نه ببین
ربع
اگر
دیگه.
یک ساعت بیاین
You
یک دفعه
see,
بخواین روی یک رو
you
گیجتون میده.
can't move from the
چرا
hourly
که
time
یک
frame
رو
to the
یک سیگنال
15
دیگه
minutes
میده.
time
بچه‌ها
frame
ما که اینجا
because
تایم
they
بعد چک
give
کنم.
you different
تقریبا
signals, and you
چند
should
ثانیه
check
دیگه
the
کم‌کم
market
ربع
in
ساعته
that.
من تموم میشه. ربع ساعته من
For
سیگنال رو
example,
میده.
your
یک ساعته
15
من
minutes
سیگنال
could
افزایش رو داره
end
میده.
and give you
شما
a
باید به
descending signal, but the
تایمتون
hourly
مچ
time frame gives you an
ست بکنید با
ascending
هم دیگه.
signal.
مثلا
So
ربع
you
ساعت
should
سیگنال نزول داد دیگه.
adjust
این
that
یک سیگنال
between
نزول
and
قله است. کمی
make
تا
a
اینجا مثلا
balance
تو پایین
between the time
بریزش به سمت
frames.
پایین. چرا من اومدم بایمو پایین تر گذاشتم؟ چرا که
That's the
اینجا
reason
قیمت
why I
ذهنی
have
بین پیوت
put
ها
my
گیر
buy
کرده.
here
الان تو
because the
تایم 5
price is
دقیقه هم
stuck
سیگنال
between
نزول
two
میده. ربع ساعت
pivots.
و 5 دقیقه مثل هم دیگه.
I
ربع
said
ساعت
that
سیگنال
the
نزول،
15 minutes and 5
5
minutes
دقیقه
are
هم
the
سیگنال
same.
ادامه دهنده.
So I have the
ببین
same
مچ من بین
signals
پیوت هست. اینجا
in the
پیوت،
in those
اینجا هم
time
پیوت. خب
frames,
من با
but the
فاصله
price
با
is
لیمیت
between the
میکنم
two
دیگه.
pivots.
خیلی راحت تر و فیکس.
So I wouldn't
بین
take
این
that
دوتا
risk.
ترید نمی
I
کنم.
wouldn't
چون که
trade
بین این
between
دوتا
these
ترید
two
کردن این از بگیر بسکن کردن. این میگیرم
because
هی
it's
پس میدم.
very risky. I'm going to gain profits and then
اسکلپ
lose.
کلا یعنی کمین کردن دیگه،
So
نکزنی.
scalping is
زنی فارسیش
exactly
میشه نکزنی.
on that
کمین
means
کن.
that
دقیقا
you should
اون
stock the
سیگنال که
market,
گرفتی توی پیوت
and as
برخورد
soon
کن
as you
سری
get your
بگیر.
signal,
حالا بذار
you
ببینم
should
من
take it.
براتون اسکلپ میکنم به چه
But
صورت.
I
بذار من
will
چارتا رو
teach
نگاه
you
کنم.
about scalping in the future.
اینو خودت مثلا دقیقا مثل پوند فرقی نداره.
Let me look at the chart
اینم
now.
الان توی پیوت های اینجا
And
گیر
the
کرده.
pound,
بذار یه چارتی
let
باشه.
me find another
جناب
chart.
عبداللهی
Mr.
من یه
Abdullahi,
ابهامی دارم اینجا.
بفرمایید.
something is unclear for
من
me.
شما تو جلسات قبل فرمودید
In the
که
last
اگر
sessions, you
پیوت رو
said
قوی
that if our
باشه
pivot is
معمولا
powerful,
قیمت نرسیده در واقع به اون پیوت
the
برمیگرده.
price is going
درسته؟
to retrace
پلان میگه
before it
که
reaches it.
قیمت در واقع باید
But
توی اون
now you
پیوت
say
تموم
that
بشه برمیگرده.
uh,
این نرسیده یا
if the
به
price
حساب توی
is
پیوت چقدر باید اختلاف
finished
داشته باشه.
inside the pivot,
مسیر
it's going
شما
to
کدوم موقع
retrace.
میخوای
So
بزنی؟
which is it?
ببین من
No,
که تو
it depends
پیوتم
on
پوشین
what
چارتی
kind of
دارم.
trading are
باشه
you
من اگه
you're going
قیمتم
to
اینجا باشه
do.
توی
For
پیوتم
example,
اینجا باشه، خب برای چی بخوام اینجا
if
مثلا
my pivot is
قیمت رو اینجا
here,
بایی بزنم؟
I shouldn't buy
این
here.
قیمت اومده
The
برگشته
price
و
has
اگه
reached here
دفعه
and then it has
دوم دوباره
retraced.
بخواد بیا بالا مچ
So
بهش میشکنه.
in the second
چون که
and you can be sure that it's going to break it.
نه ببینید یعنی شما میگی آقا پیوت
No,
قوی
you
باشه
see, you say that if a
مسیر
pivot is
یک یکی
powerful,
وارد
the
بشه و
price is
برگرده
going to get
درسته
shocked before it even
بله
reaches it and
خب
then it
شما
retraces,
کجا میخواین
right?
ترید بزنی
Yes. So, in what time frame are you going to do
ما
your
میگم اون کندل
trading?
در واقع به عنوان کندل در واقع برگشتی حساب میشه به عنوان
I
کل تموم
want
میشه
to know
یا اینکه نه
if
به
it
عنوان
counts as a
اول
کندل
شما
reversal
باید
candlestick or
کندل
not.
تموم بشه
You
ببینید
should wait for the
اگر که
candlestick to
پیوت
be
مثلا میگیم
completed. For
یک
example,
یک ساعته بزنم پیوتم پر
in the
بشه
hourly time
مثلا اینجا
frame, for
این یک
example, in
پیوتی
here,
قوی بوده درسته گفتید
we
داره
have a
چرخ بعد
very
قبلا هم اومد
powerful
بالا و
pivot here. You have
برگشته
a swing
درسته
low and your price
این
had
قیمت میاد
reversed
میخوره
here
اینجا
before. So
برمیگرده
the
من
price
نمیتونم
reaches this and
الان
then it
وقتی که کندل
retraces,
تموم
and
نشده
I
بگم که کندل
can't
تموم
say
میشه
that this is going to be a swing high
چون
candlestick before
معتقدن
it
گفتن
is
کندلی که
completed.
تو تایم خودش هنوز تموم
So the
نشده
candlestick that
نمیتونه
is
دست
not
بگیره چون علت
completed
داشته
in
یک
its own
وایساده
time frame, you can't
من اومدم
decide based on
اینجا
that.
بای لیمیت کاشتم
I have put a
خب
buy limit
این
here,
یک بار اومده گوش این یک بار
and the
اومده
price
من
has
اینجا نیومدم تا
reached this
همون
area
لحظه که داره
once,
میاد بالا اینجا بای
but I
بزنم
haven't bought
این
the first
اومد
time it
بالا
has reached this
برگشته و
area.
بای
It
لیمیت
has
بایش
come
باید
up to here,
گذاشتم
then
چرا
it
دیگه
has
برای اینکه اگه
retraces.
بار
So a
دوم
retrace.
بخواد
So I
بیاد
have
حتما
put a
پیوت
buy
ضعیف
stop
که
here.
خودش رو بار
So it
دوم بهش
means that
میرسونه
this
و
pivot
بیشتر به
is
سمت بالا میره
weak.
و مهم اینه که شما کجا ترید
And the
بزنید
important point is
ببین
where you enter, where
الان
you
یه سوال
start
از شما پرسم
trading.
شما کجا
I'm
میخواید
going to
ترید
ask you a
بزنید
question. Where are you
اینو
going
جواب
to
به من
start
بدید تا جواب
trading?
اونو بهتون بدم که آیا
Please
این
give
پیوت
me the
قوی
answer so
هستش
I
شما
can
میخواید اینجا
know.
بای بزن اینجا مثلا اینجا پیوت
Do you
دیگه
want to start buying here?
میخواید
Because
اینجا
we have
چیز
pivots
بزنید
here.
سیل
Do you want
بزنید
to sell
باید
here?
نگاه کنید تو پیوت تو بیاید تو
You should
پیوت بخوای
look.
بزنی
You shouldn't sell when you
اعتماد
have
میکنید
pivots
فرق
here. So you
میکنید
should
که وقتی
wait
قیمتت دقیقا توی
until
پیوتت
the
هست
price is
قانون اینه صبر
exactly in
کنید
your
بشکنید
pivots. You should wait for it to be
اگر
broken
نشکنی
first.
وقتی
It's the
ترید
rule.
بزنی
If that doesn't
افتضاحه
happen and you start
الان
selling,
همینجا در
that
واقع این
is
بالا
wrong.
تشکیل شده درسته
So in
درسته
here we
به
have a
ظاهر
swing
هم
high, right? Yes,
هم
it's
در واقع
right.
اون شادو
And it
کلت اون
seems
باسه
like it has
الان این میتونیم استنباط
gone
بکنیم که
further
این
than
بهش
our
بگیم
shadow
دیبایی
there.
یا نه
So
نه
is that a
چرا که تو
confirmation for
پیوت
us?
خودش
No, because we have two pivots here.
چرا که این شادو وطنه ای
You
که
see, the
اینجا
shadow
داره
and the
تو
body that
پیوته
we have here are inside the pivots.
دقیقا این رو باید بسنجید شما
So
اینو چکش
that is
کنید
exactly
ببینید من
what you
گفتم
need to
اینجا
consider. I
شادو
told you that. In
وطنه ای که
here,
داره
the shadow and
من
the body that
میسنجم
we
اگه
have,
اینجا
I
خود
have to
شما
look.
مثلا
If
پیوت
I
من
want to
چند
sell
پیپ
here,
فاصله داره
how
ارزش داره
many
بخوام
pips
بگیرم
is the
این دقیقا
distance
ببینید
between our
اینجا پیوت باشه
pivots and the shadow here? Is it even worth it?
اینجا
For example, in here we have the
اینجا
pivots.
پیوتش آیا تونست از اینجا رد کنه شادو وطنه
Is
رو
it
باز
going to go
کرده
further than
یک
this?
میل رد کرده
The
یا آیا
shadow has
رد کرد
opened the body here, but has it gone
من باید
further than
صبر
the
میکنم
pivots? So I
پیوتم
should
باز
wait
بشه
for
بعد
the
وارد
pivots to
بشم
be broken and then I can enter.
ولی اگر که من این مورد رو
But if
نداشتم
I don't
خب
have,
مثل
if I
اینجا
didn't have these
اینجا
pivots,
من این مورد رو نداشتم بله میراث شده و تنم باز شد فروش رو
yes,
میزدم
I could have sold
ببینید شما
when the
قرار
body
این
and the shadow
پرینسیپل
was
رو انسان
open.
ترکیب کنی
But you can't,
نه
you
اینکه
should have
مثلا
to
الان من
mix
گفتم
all
که
of the
بله روند
rules.
کلی یعنی اینکه شادو بالا بلند شد و کی فروش بدونیم تاییدیه کامله که
When I
بیاد
teach you
همه
something
شادو
new,
رو
it
باز
doesn't mean
بکنه
that you should
خب
forget
اینو
about
من
the
بیام
things
اینجا
that I
فروش بزنم که دلیل
taught you
نداره چرا که
before.
چون پیوتم اینجاست
If I
من
start
نباید
selling
ببازم
here,
این
I have
پرینسیپ ترکیب میشه
pivots
با
here, so I'm
پیوت
going to lose. So you have to mix these two strategies together.
متوجه
You have to
منظورم
mix
میشین
candlesticks and pivots together. Is that clear?
بله متوجه شدم
Yes, that is
ببینید
clear.
یه بار دیگه تکرار
I will
میکنم
repeat that for
شمایی
you.
که اینجا من توی کندل قبلیش داشتم توضیح میدم گفتم یه اینجا
When
سیگنال
I was talking
هست
about
یه
the
شیشه
swing high
من
candlestick, I
چک
told you
میکنم
that if I
ببینم
have an
این
ascending
ارزش
signal
با
here,
اون
I will
پیوتی
check
که
and
من
see
دارم
if
چقدر فاصله داره اگه
what is the
قابل فهم
distance
دیگه
between
استاپ
the
منم مثلا 3 پیپ 4 پیپ
ascending
آقا یه
signal
ارزش
and
نداره
the
وارد بشم
pivots. So to see
میبینم
if it's
نه
worth it to
فاصله پیپ من
enter
حداقل
the
20
trading
پیپه
or not.
چرا وارد نشم
But if I
چون
have, for
اینجا
example,
دقیقا میبینی
20
شما
pips
قرار
of
بوده اینجا
distance, I
پیوت
should
بشه اینجا داشتی
enter.
اینجا هم داشتی که قیمت
But you
برگشت
have
کرده دیگه
pivots
اینجا هم
here,
داشتی که قیمت باز برگشت
and that is
کرده
why you've had
این
reversals.
چه تکنیکی به چه حکمی میخوای اینجا وارد
So you
کنی
shouldn't
فقط بر
start
اساس این کندل
selling here. You shouldn't start
نمیشه که
just because of this candlestick here. You should pay
الان
attention to your
میبینید این
pivots.
بار دومه که داره
So
قیمت
in
خودش رو
here,
میرسونه به سمت
this
بالا
is the second time that the
بار
price
دومه که
is
داره
going
قیمت خودش رو میرسونه
to
به سمت بالا چرا
reach
چون در
that
طول
place up
طولانی
there.
شما سیگنال
That
افزایشه
is because in the
چون
longer
در
time
تایم بالا
frames,
شما سیگنال
your signal is
افزایشه
ascending.
پس من دقیق میگم این پیوت قوی ضعیفی
But
هست
this
که
pivot is
کندل دوباره
weak.
داره خودش رو به اینجا
And that is because the candlestick has been able to reach it twice. If it was powerful like this pivot or like this one's, and it has all of the factors, and the distance of the pivot was more, then it could have happened. But if this candlestick that is up here, the only reason was that we've had pivots here. But if it didn't have any pivots here, it wouldn't be able to move up there. You see, we've had one example in here. For example, right here. These are your future candlestick, but if you look at this is a ascending signal candlestick. What is the distance between the pivots and the signal? It's right here. You see that? The price has gone further than this, so it means that it has gone further than the pivot. It has broken the shadow and the body and also the pivot. So it's not going to be retraced. So I'm telling you, you should wait for it to open all of these pivots, and you should pay attention to the distance of the pivots and the signals to see if it's worth it to enter or not. I'm telling you that there are two very good signals every day for you, and you know the factors. The first one that we found didn't have the factors that we wanted, but the second one here has all of the factors. So that gives you a very good signal. It's great. It's not a weak signal. It's a very powerful signal for you. For example, in here. What is this? It's a reversal candlestick, right? It's a reversal candlestick. So it should open the shadow and the body, and I will locate the pivots. Has it gone further than the pivots or not? I should check that. Has it gone further than the pivots? If it does, I know that I'm going to have an uptrend, and then I can buy. And when I do that, the next pivot that I have is right there. That we've had reversals in the past. Therefore, I should take my orders up until here, because the pivot here has been opened. So I told you that when we see the swing high candlestick, we have a Fibonacci. It's between 38 and 50 level, which we always have pivots in that area. So we have one pivot here, and your second take profit is right here. If I want to take orders, I would put it here. And you've had reversal. That means that you've had pivots in the past. In the 15 minutes time frame, I told you that it's going to be retraced. Let me find it. In the 4-hour time frame. Because the pivot was here, in the hourly time frame, this candlestick, I haven't taught you this, but this is an engulfing candlestick. When a candlestick is completed in a pivot with a long body and a small shadow, that is called an engulfing candlestick. But in here, when we're talking about the reversal candlestick, it has all of the factors. The upper shadow is shorter. It has been completed in a pivot here. So if I get all of that confirmations and it goes further than the pivot, I can start trading safely. And there are many examples like this. For example, in the pound chart, this has been opened here. I should put my take profit in here because the price has been reversed there once. For example, you see in the pound chart, in the 4-hour time frame, which is on the 4:30 p.m. I think it's 7 p.m. in Iran for now.
سه
So
و چهار سه میشه. 3 و 4 این کندل براتون شکل
it's
گرفته. ببین این یک
the
کندل
candlestick
چیه؟
was
کل
formed here at that
370.
time, and this is
شادوی
my
بالا
swing
بالا
high
میاد.
candlestick.
تنه اون
The
شکل کلی
upper
رو داره دیگه. این
shadow is
شکل.
long,
خب پیوت من کجاست؟
and the
اینجا
pivot
شما
is
اینجا
right
بزن. پیوت
here.
من کجاست؟ اینجاست.
See that with the red line?
یک پیوت اینجا
I
داره.
have one pivot here,
یک پیوت اینجا داره که مساوی با شادو و تنه اون. پیوت
and the
بعدیش
next pivot
اینجا.
is right here.
این شادو اینجا رو میگه چون نزدیک به این
It's
نقطه
right here
افتاده
because
پیوت نیفتاده.
it's very close
دقیقاً
to the
فیکس اومده
fractals there,
برگشته.
and it
پس
has
شما وقتی از
retraced
فاصله
at
تا این
this
چند پیپه؟
area. So how many pips is the distance between them?
10 پیپه.
It's
پس این
10
10 پیپو
pips.
شما راحت میتونید سود بگیرید.
So you can to
شما اگه
gain
اینجا هم
these 10
بخواید
pips of
روندی من
profit.
پیدا
If
بکنید
you want to
بر
find your
اساس
trend here
خط
based
ترند
on
هم
your
بخواید
trend
وصل
line,
بکنید نباید فراموش کنید
you
خط ترند
shouldn't
هم وصل
forget
بکنید
about the trend line.
میدونین دیگه اینجا
You know that
برگشت
it's
قیمت
going
دارید.
to be
این
retracing
دیواره خط
here.
ترندتون نیست. به خاطر
This
سه
is
چهار
your
پیپ بخواید
wall.
توش فروش دوباره برین نباید موردات
So
فراموش
you
کنید. ببین
shouldn't
من
forget
الان
about these
اینجا از
strategies.
خط ترندم من کمک گرفتم.
See, I got the confirmation from the trend line as well.
الان ببین در تایم یک
In
ساعته
the
من
hourly
تا یک
time
ساعت
frame
اومدم بالا
here,
یعنی تا ساعت 19 من افزایش
until the
قیمت دارم.
next hour, I'm going to have
حالا
an
این یه کار میکنه
ascending
خودش رو تا
trend.
اینجا برسونه
So
میتونه تو این
it
پیوت
can
هم گیر
reach
باشه.
this area or it can get stuck there.
ولی خب من اینجایی که مثلا بای
But when
زدم
I have
یک
bought
ساعتم
here
تموم شد
and the
سیگنالم
hour
رو
is
بزرگ
over and
داد
it gives me a
سیگنالم رو
descending
بزرگ یعنی یه
signal,
قله دیگه اینجا
or
داد من باید
it means that
ورودم
it gives me
بزنم
another
راحت
swing
ترم
high
برم
here,
مسیر
I
خوب
should
بگیرم تو
exit,
کندلستیک دارم
even
ترید
if I
میکنم
lose
دیگه
a bit.
کندلستیک میگه کندلی
Because
رو کندل
I'm
وارد
trading
بشه
based on candlesticks, and when you do that, you
من
have to
اینجا اگه
exit
یک اوردر
every single
میگیرم
candlestick that is
دونه
completed.
کندلامو میگیرم تا زمانی که کندلام سیگنال افزایش باشه روی بایم میمونم
So
زمانی که
until the
کندلام سیگنال
candlestick
نزول بشه
gives
خب
me
خروجمو
a
میزنم چرا پیپو
descending
هدف بدم
signal,
این
I
رو
will
ثبت
stay
میکنم
and
میرم
continue
این
my
بالا
trading.
سیگنال نزول تا
When it
فروش
gives me
میده
that
از پایین
signal, I
سیگنال
will
بای میده
exit.
دوباره وارد بای میشه
And then again, if it gives me a
من
buy
اسکلپ از
signal, I
جلسه
will start
آینده
buying.
گرفتم دارم ورکشاپ تو تنظیم میکنم که
I'm
اسکلپتون
trying
دقیقاتش
to
هم دونه بدونه بهتون یاد بدم که تو تایم
set up
پایین شروع
a
کنید دنبال ترید
workshop to
کردن
teach you about
ولی خب
scalping.
شما باید کندل بعدی رو یاد بگیرین که
But
بیاین تو
first, you need
اسکلپینگ
to
اون
learn
مهارت
about
طول
the
سالیتون رو پیدا کنید
candlesticks
این
so you
مورد
can
اینجا
start scalping.
اینجا شما دو تا کندل باز
Another
دارین
example in here, you have two
وقتی که
swing
گفتیم
high
تنه باشه
candlesticks
این
in
گیج
here.
باز شد تاییده من
I
اینجا
told you
چک
that if
میکنم
this is
ببینم این
open,
پیوتم
it
از
gives you a
کجا پیوتمه
confirmation. I have pivots
اینجا
here, right here.
صبر میکنم قیمتم از
So
این
I
رد
should
بکنه
wait for the
رد کرد
price to
وارد
go
فروشی
further
میشم
than
چون
that.
تاییدش کرد
And
دیگه
when that
پیوتش هم
happens,
باز
I
شد
should start selling. So it gives
میدونم که
me a
کندل بعدی من
confirmation.
مثلا تا اینجا میاد یه
And
پیوت
the
اینجا دارم یه
candlestick is
پیوتم
going to come
اینجا
up to
دارم
here
زمانی
because
که
I have a
اینجا شما فعلا
pivot
نسبتم
here.
تا اینجا دارم
And the maximum
یا یک
decline is going
مورد
to be up until here. Another
این مثلا کندل
example,
ادامه دهنده من میدونم
you
از
see,
کندل
this is a
یک چه اوردر
continuation
فروشم چون کندلم
candlestick
سیگنال نزوله در
because
همه
I have a
سناریوها دارم چک
descending
میکنم
signal
سیگنال
based on
نزول
the
پیوتم کجاست
candlestick
پیوتم
in
اینجاست
all of the time
سیگنال الان
frames.
سیگنال نزول خب پس میدونم تا اینجا میاد
So I
دیگه
know that it's
چند
going to
پیپه
come up to
این
here. And how
روشه
many pips is that? It's about
تقریبا 8 پیپ
8 pips.
اینجا 8 پیپ مثلا میتونم اوردر
So
فروش
I can
بگیرم
start a sell order and
یا
gain
اینکه
8
این
pips of
کندل
profit. Or for
ببین
example, in
این
here,
کندل سیگنال افزایش داده قله
I
داده
have an
ببین اینجا
ascending
خودش یه
signal
حالت
here and a
موجی ایجاد کرده
swing
من
high
نمیام
here.
اینجا بای
So I
بگیرم من
shouldn't
صبر
buy. I
میکنم
should wait
قیمتم
for the
تقریبا
price
از اینجا که رد
to go
کرد به خودش
further than
تقریبا
this
2.6
area,
بوده اینجا رد کرد بعد وارد بای بشم
and then I
وارد
will
بای شم
start
تا
buying
کجا
up
پیوتم
until
چک
the
میکنه
next
ارزش
pivot.
داره میرم تا
Let me
اینجا
see if it's worth it. The next pivot
اینم
is
چند
here,
پیپه
and it's
5 پیپه یه اسکلپ
5
خیلی ریز
pips. So
میتونم
I can
بزنم
do scalp
به شرط اسپرم
trade
رو چک
here.
کنم ببینم اسپرم ارزش رو میگه اسپرم خود یک پیپه خب همینجا میتونم 3 پیپ و 4 پیپ رو راحت سود بگیرم
So I can gain that many profits in here easily.
یا در جای دیگه مثلا ببینید این کنده البته خانواده دوجیه
You
خب
see, this is a
آدم
doji
این اعتبار
candlestick
نمیده
here, so this is not very reliable.
الان اینجا
Or in
ببین
here, for
این
example,
کندل
this
یک
is
کندل تغییر روند داد
a
ریزش تا
reversal
اینجا یعنی
candlestick
حد
for
اکثر
me.
بخواد بریزه تا اینجا
So it's going to come
چرا
down to
چون
here,
که توی تایم
maximum, because
بالاتر
in the
من
longer
یک
time
کندل
frames, I
خروشانی
have
دارم
a engulfing
پس
candlestick.
طول اینو نباید
So I
بذارم
shouldn't be
چون تو تایم
deceived by
9
it,
اومده این کلا
because in the
ریزش بکنه به
15-minute
سمت
time
پایین
frame,
کلا
it's going to have a decline, because in the longer time frames I have an engulfing candlestick. So when your time frame is longer, your elasticity is going to be in that direction. For example, in the 4-hour time frame, if I have a swing high, and in the 30 minutes time frame I have a decline signal, the 4-hour time frame signal is going to be performed, and the 30 minutes time frame is going to have that decline only a few pips. You see, in the 4-hour time frame here I have an ascending signal, but in the shorter time frames I have a descending one. So this has a more strong elasticity. Is that clear? Excuse me. Is the class being recorded? Yes, it is. Excuse me. Ask your questions.
استاد ببخشید
Excuse me.
چند این تایم فرمه که
When
عوض
you're
میکنه
changing your time
یه
frames,
خب اشتباه میشه تو اسکالپس که باید این کار انجام بدیم
it's a little bit confusing. Should we do that on scalping? No, please pay attention to this. If I'm moving to the 4-hour time frames, you should pay attention to the distance of my take profits. So I'm not talking about scalping here, but when I'm moving on to the 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 30 minutes time frames, it means that I want to do scalp trading. So in 5 minutes or 15 minutes time frames, you can do scalping. But firstly, you have to know what kind of an order you want to do. Is it going to be short term or long term or mid term? If it's long term, it should be on the 4-hour time frame. That is your long term trade. 4-hour time frames is your long term trading. So you shouldn't move in between the time frames anymore, so because it's only going to confuse you. You're going to get different signals. But if you want to short-term trade, you should look at the hourly time frame. But if you want to come even less than 30 minutes time frames, that is scalping. It's not short-term trading, it's scalping. You get your profits in minutes. So in your next sessions, I will teach you about engulfing and continuation candlesticks, and then we will move on to scalping. But firstly, we have to learn about short-term and mid-term trades. I will repeat the candlesticks for you, but first let me answer to this question. You see, when I'm in the hourly time frame, let me see how I should put it. I haven't taught you the candlestick yet. I will put it like this. In the 4-hour time frames, I have an engulfing candlestick here. And based on the pivots that I have here, I have opened a buy order in here. And I have put my buy stop a little bit above that. So I have traded in a 4-hour time frames, not on the 5 minutes time frame. I was on the 4-hour time frame when I was trading. So I shouldn't expect my order to gain profits. But if I was on the 30 minutes time frame and I see an ascending candlestick, I should start buying and gain the profits right then and then exit. So I will gain 3 or 4 pips of profit. But in the 4-hour time frames, I will gain about 10 pips of profit. So that is what the difference is. The little fluctuations that we have doesn't matter to me because I'm looking at the midterm trend. I'm looking at the long-term charts, but when you're trading in the 30 minutes time frames, you're only looking at the 1 hour in the future. You don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 hours in the future. That is what the difference between them is. You see, in scalping, the next session I'm going to finish the candlesticks and then we're going to move on to the scalping. In scalping, we don't check the longer time frames. We only look at the candles in 15 minutes time frames. And for example, it gives me an engulfing or an ascending signal, and we see the confirmations in the 5 minute time frame. So based on those, I will start trading and gain the profit and then exit. Someone has asked me to tell the difference between the swing high and the reversal candlestick. You see, the reversal candlestick has shadows from both sides. For example, in here, this. It has shadows from both directions and the body is shorter than the shadows. The upper shadow has to be longer than the lower shadow when it's at the top of the market and it's going to cause a decline. But if it's at the bottom of the market, for example, this is a swing high candlestick. You see that? Because the body is the same height as the shadow there. I'm looking for reversal pivot candlesticks here. You see, for example, in here, it's at the bottom of the market. So the factors are that the shadows have to be longer than the body, the lower shadow has to be longer than the upper shadow when it's at the bottom of the market, and in here they are almost the same height, and it has to be empty, and it has to be an ascending signal, and then it has to cause an upward movement. On the circumstances that you have to check for swing highs there. If you don't have one, it will move upwards easily, but if it doesn't, you have to wait for it to be completed. I will send you the video tonight so you can rewatch it. Both of these candlesticks have the same job. In here, for example, you have a reversal. The shadows are longer than the body, but the upper shadow is not longer than the lower shadow. It's not empty, and if you wait for it to be performed, you should wait for it to open the body and the shadow here. If that happens, you can start selling. But in here, you shouldn't do anything and you shouldn't make any decisions. You have put a buy stop at the top of the price here, so that the price is able to, if the price is able to open the shadow here, it means that it's faded out. So the buy order will be performed. On which is the more powerful one, it depends on the location. The reversal is more easily performed. and you can see
دقیقا
that it's
گفتم
going to
مدل
change the whole
زمانی
trend.
میتونیم بگیم که خیلی خوب اجرا
And
میشه که توی کف یا
the
سقف اجرا بشه،
reversal
نه توی
candlesticks are
روندی.
performed
توی
well
روندی
when they
نباید
are
اجرا
at the
بشه.
top
حالا
or
اینجا چی
bottom
یعنی
of the
ریزش
market. Where
خیلی
they're
کوچیک
when
دارید
they're
شما.
inside the trend,
وقتی
you're
تو
going to have
کف
a
مارکت تو
very
فیبوری
little change
کنی،
of the trend.
میبری
But when they're
بالا،
at the top of
توی
or
سقف
the market or
رئیس
at the
اینجا که
bottom of the
روند
market at
اومده
the swing
بالا،
highs or
استرابی یا
swing lows, for
روند
example, in
ریزش
this
کرده
here,
پایین، ریزش های
or
شدید
when we have a
داشتیم
spike
و روند بیش از حد ریزش کرده به سمت پایین،
in
این
these
این
areas, if
شکلیه.
we have a
یک
reversal
روند
candlestick,
کلا
it's going
تغییر
to
میکنه.
change the trend completely.
استاد فرقش تو
I,
شاده
I
باشه
think
خب.
the
آره فرقش
difference
تو
is
شاده
it's
باشه.
only in the shadows. Yes, that's correct.
سوالی
Is that
دارید؟
clear?
سوالی اشکالی
Any
هست؟
questions or problems? Excuse
استاد
me.
ببخشید من به واسطه مشغله یه خود عقب
I'm a
افتادم.
busy. I'm a little
اون
bit busy.
ویدیوها رو فرمودید، یه ویدیو 5 مارس داشتید، خیلی ویدیو
You
عالی بود
sent us a
ویدیو
video on March
فکر
5th, and that
کنم
was
سایتم
great.
اشتباه فرستادم.
No, I
سایت
آره
شاده
sent
بود
it
ویدیو
بهتون.
خوبی بود، یعنی
wrongly. I made a
فقط مرسی
mistake.
دمتون
Can
هم
you
ممنون.
please
دست
resend it
کم 60
again?
گفتن سرور درست میشه، چون
Okay, I
سرورم
will.
سایت رو تغییر دادیم.
We have
به
changed the
خاطر همین
server of the
نتونسته سایت هم اگه
website.
توجه سایتمون هم
That
پایینه.
is why I couldn't
امشب درست
send you
میشه.
the
من
video.
امشب
But
آماده
I
با یه
will
فایل پی دی افی که خودم درست کردم آموزشی
send
گذاشتمش
you
براتون
the whole
میفرستم.
file
اون فایل
tonight.
از ابتدای ویدیو که
And
آموزش
you
شروع
can have
شده
all of the
تا الان
videos
میتونیم تا کاملا
and
دانلودش
also
کنیم.
a PDF file that I have prepared.
آموزشش رو براتون میدم امشب، انشالله درست میشه.
So I'm going to
خب سوال
send it
اشکالی
to you
نیست.
tonight. Any more questions?
ببینید این
You
ویدیو
see,
که
the
براتون
video that I
ارسال
have sent,
کردم امشب ارسال
that I have
میشه.
recorded,
انشالله
is going to
براتون
be
کامل
sent to you
میکنم.
tonight,
چند ساعتی
a
طول
few
میکشه.
hours from now,
نهایتا نشد فردا.
or even maybe
حتما
tomorrow.
توی روزایی که تعطیل
So
هستین
please
خیلی نکات
rewatch
خیلی
these
ریزی رو داخلش
because
تکرار
they have
کردم. این ویدیو رو
very good
خیلی میتونید
points in
نگاش
them.
کنید. چون
Watch
ببینید
them
توی
carefully
انتخاب کندل ها شما یک
because you have
اراده ای دارید.
problems in
جلسه
candlesticks.
آینده تو من که ادامه
And when I'm
کندل رو
teaching you
جایزه
about the
دادم،
other
اگر توی
candlesticks,
اون
if you,
تایم اضاف داشته باشیم
I
تست
will
میگیرم ازتون.
take quizzes
اگر
from you
نداشته باشیم جلسه
if we
بعدش
have
یک
time. If
ساعت
we don't
بررسی رو
have
میخوام
time,
تست گرفتن روی
next
کندل ها،
session
اوردر
I
باز
will
کردن،
start
اوردر دی1
taking quizzes from
باز کردن روی
you,
حساب خودم، حجم رو میارم
and you
پایین
should
که
start
یه وقت
trading
خطا ندیم.
on my
کندلاتون که
account.
گرفتیم میریم سراغ
And
چی؟
after that,
که
we will
بتونیم
move
راحت
on to
اوردر
the
بگیریم.
scalping method.
استاد
Excuse
جلسه
me,
بعد کی
when is
هستید
our
بگین
next session?
تنظیم بکنیم
پس
آماده باشیم.
میشه
I'm
نمیدونم
not
دقیقا کی
sure,
چند
but
شنبه
it's
میشه.
on the
وقت
6th.
خوبیه، همین بعد تعطیلات باشه، خیلی
It would be
خوبه.
great if it's
ما هم دیگه
after
ششم
the
بابت کلاس رو میذاریم. بعد
Nowruz holidays.
بچه کوچه
It's
تو وقتی
usually
کلاس رو
after the
بذاریم
6th
معمولا
of
از یکم
Faradin.
تا پنجم همه مهمانی هستن یا
Because in
مسافرت
the
هستن، امکان
holidays,
پذیرش نبود دیگه. از ششم به بعد کلاس رو
everyone's
میذاریم. حالا
busy.
نمیدونم ششم به بعد چند شنبه میشه،
But
ولی
we're
خب
going to
فکر
have our
میکنم پایان هفته
classes
آینده
on the
باشه.
from the 6th of Faradin. I think it's on
سه
Tuesday.
شنبه هفته که پیش میاد.
The next Tuesday, you mean?
آره دیگه
Yes.
سه شنبه هفته پیش میاد.
Okay.
اوکی، سه شنبه
So
کلاس
we'll
بعدی داریم.
have a class on Tuesday.
خب
All right. Any
سوالی از
questions?
نیست.
I will
من ویدیو
stop
رو
the video.
استاپ